Welcome, data enthusiasts. I'm Joseph of Zuma Recruitment, the consultancy focused 100% on connecting data professionals in and around the Berlin region. And this is our podcast, Data for Good, connecting you with all things data. And today, pleased to say, I am joined by Luisa de Sa. Luisa is product manager of global data services at OLX Group. OLX is the global online marketplace allowing buyers and sellers to showcase anything from their homes, cars, jobs, and much more. Their German hub is based in Berlin, and that's where Luisa works. Luisa, how's it going this afternoon?
Hello, Joseph. First,
Hey.
thanks for the invitation to participate here today and connect with the community of data in Berlin. And today afternoon, everything's good, sunny in Berlin, so we need to celebrate. It's not that often that it happens.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Spring and almost summer are here.
Yes.
Cool. So today, I understand you're going to give us a somewhat comprehensive overview of the role and the nuances of being a data product manager. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. I want to clarify a little bit of what it means and what are the opportunities for who wants to follow this path.
Excellent. And that's my thinking. This would be a great opportunity for learning for somebody who wants to follow the path of a data product manager. So yeah, I've got lots of questions and I'll be hitting you with them today.
Okay, good. Let's start.
Great. Cool. Okay. So could you give us an overview of what you do at OLX and therefore what a data product manager does?
Yes, sure. I think maybe before jumping into my role specifically, I can give a more general introduction to what are the most common roles that a data product manager can have inside an organization. Of course, each organization is a case, but we have some common patterns. So a data product manager might be focused on data as a product itself, which means that this person will work closely with extracting insights from data tracked from your website or from the app that you have, and then analyzing and having an iterative design of your final product based on that. So you might, for instance, work closely doing A/B tests of different versions of a functionality to see what is best for your users. And this is something that the product manager can be focused on. So this is an option. Another one is when you have a data product itself to your end users. So one example of this would be, Netflix. They have like a recommendation engine that knows exactly what Joseph likes best from your past experience, from users similar to you. And this is an engine that is a product by itself. And the third option is a data PM responsible for internal data services or data platforms, how we want to call, that are kind of internal services for instance, data scientists or data analysts, for them to work with data in terms of governance, in terms of accessing data, transforming it, and even serving it to your final users. But the user that you are focused on is internal in this case. So this is what I do in OLX. I work in a team that is called Global Data Services, and we are responsible for the platforms and services from tracking to providing data to the end users of the company from the beginning to the end. That goes through governance and data transformation as well. And there are many different tools for that.
The end users of the company, is that still internal or can they be external customers?
Yeah, I didn't clarify. Yeah, I mean end users as external customers. Yeah. So for instance, in my team, we own our platform for experimentation. So our internal users are data analysts that do the experiments and the product managers that are responsible for a specific feature. but the people impacted at the end are the external users of the platform that will see one or other feature depending on the path that they have from this experiment.
Fantastic. So I hope that we'll be going into the modern data platform and customer data platform or cloud data platform. What areas does your position at OLX cover?
So my team covers what we call like the whole data flow inside the company. So we own the trackers that track data in the app of OLX and in the website. Also the data lake and the data catalog that we use for governing this data and who has access to what, which is very important in the context of data privacy. So we cannot give access to everybody to everything. And also tools for consuming this data. So to build your data transformation pipelines, also to build analysis for internal analytical teams. And as I said, also tools that are connected to the end users from outside of the company. That one example was the experimentation platform. And the other one is even one of the services I own by myself, that is the infrastructure for serving machine learning models. So at the end, my customers are data scientists that use my platform as an infrastructure. And then the machine learning model makes predictions in this infrastructure, and those predictions are shown to the external users from OLX website. So when I talk about machine learning predictions, this can be like a recommendation of an item, or even, I don't know, a price that is suggested for your item, or anything else that interacts with the user.
Fantastic. So this really is the modern data platform. Give us an idea. You've mentioned machine learning. You've talked about predictions. How important can the management of these data platforms be? What's the critical point in your position? The importance.
Okay, good question. So I think that like for the organization, the data platforms can be important from different aspects. So they are solving problems from your internal users so that at the end you satisfy the needs of the customers of the company. But yeah, you need to work into different dimensions depending on the case. Like you might have some platforms or services more focused on the aspect of governance. So they are important to exist so that you really rule who has access to which kind of data inside the company. You might have platforms that are relevant in terms of reducing costs or reducing the overhead, like the work that your internal team has. So here I can give an example of the machine learning platform that I own as a product manager. Like before this platform existed, there was a great effort from data scientists and machine learning engineers to set up the infrastructure by themselves to serve the models in the website. So they usually had a big dependency on site reliability engineers that are more technical engineers that handle the infrastructure. And this was a process that would take long effort. And then we decided to build this service, and then it made much simpler for people to serve their models. Like we have an SDK for them to make the deployment. We have a UI for model registry so that they control the versions that are live in the website at a specific moment. So this process was all handed over to the platform instead of them needing to implement case by case. So this is an
Interesting.
example.
So is this something that you manage ongoing?
Yes. This is one of the services I take care of. Currently, I'm responsible for the machine learning platform and for our data warehouse, also for internal analytics.
Okay, super. So if we take the ML platform, could you give us a bit of an overview as a typical data product manager or data platform manager? What would be some of the tasks that are involved in your ongoing management?
Good. Okay, so from the perspective of a product manager, you mean? what I'm currently
exactly,
responsible. Yeah, so this is very diverse what I'm entitled to do in the day-to-day. It depends on the priorities in the moment, but like I'm really focused on keep closer to our internal users, trying to understand the path that they make, like the journey to build a solution with or without my service, and what are they struggling with, so that by knowing the biggest pain points and connecting them to what the business needs at a certain moment, for instance, might be reducing costs or improving governance, I can connect those dots and together with the tech lead and the team, find out solutions that we need to build for the service. So this is one of the aspects of this discovery process and prioritization of what needs to be done. And also focus on the project management part. So in Jira, be part of the ceremonies of the team and tracking how is the progress of execution of what we have planned. This is another part that is important. And of course, the operation of the service itself. So we need to define some metrics to check the health of the service, if it's working as expected, if we need to jump and do something differently at a specific moment. So this is also covered. And of course, like keep alignment between everyone, like stakeholders and our users and our internal team. I think that the PM is very much in this sense responsible for communicating to everyone, keeping everyone on the same page as much as possible about what is priority in a moment. Not sure if I've answered your question with that.
Yes, you've answered it in several other questions. I'm thinking also, you've talked about stakeholders, you've talked about interacting with the tech lead and the team and customers, and you've also mentioned that you're managing quite a technical area, so it speaks to the dual skills of a data product manager, being the social skills, the human skills, or the soft skills, as well as those technical skills. Can you talk a little bit more about the kind of what you do day to day? What are the type of conversations that you have with, say, customers to scope, gather requirements, keep the project on track, for example?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so yeah, like you said, I think it's there is this challenging part, because at the end you need to understand not only the technical aspect of what your team is developing as backend and front end of the service, but also your users have very technical journeys itself. So when you come to talk with a user to understand their path to perform a task and what are the pain points, they also have very technical pain points. So usually in those conversations, it's good that we involve both the PM and the tech lead, so that we can gather both perspectives. Like as a PM, when I need to talk to a user, of course, I try to see what is the scope of what I want to understand, what part of the journey, and formulate some questions that I want to ask to understand the whys. This is a very important thing for the PM, to whenever they say, I do this in this way, or I have this problem and I want to achieve in that other way, the PM should always come with many whys to understand the purpose of something, if something is really needed or not. But at the same time, the tech lead should come together to help elucidate any more technical aspects that happen and that are mentioned by the user. But for sure, the more that you develop your technical side as a PM of a data service, it's the best. So I think since I have joined OLX, I have evolved a lot into understanding machine learning operations, how it works. And now working with the data warehouse, I'm starting to learn a little bit more of how it works as well for data analytics aspects. And yeah, this is very relevant that the PM develops.
Excellent. Okay, so I did want to go into this actually, and I caught on something that's pretty pertinent for product manager in terms of gathering requirements, and that is understanding the needs versus understanding the wants. When you say that you ask those whys, tell me more about that. What you're trying to uncover.
Okay, so we are trying with this uncover what is the main purpose that someone has with performing a specific activity, because a user might come to you and say, hey, I want this, but they are already in a solution scope. They are already thinking of a solution for a specific problem and that they think is the best solution. But if we start asking some whys, we might uncover what is the real need and think of different alternatives to tackle that problem. So, for instance, the user might coming to you with some requirements that are very complex to solve a specific problem, but at the end you had a much simpler way to achieve the same goal. Or maybe they are even thinking of a solution that not exactly solves what is really needed for that case. So this is why it's important to not come and ask users for requirements, but understand what are the needs that they have and the pain points that are happening at the moment.
Great. So strong powers of awareness as to what the product needs to achieve and versus what often the customer needs to achieve as well. Okay.
Yeah, because I think there's also another point on this, is that there is also a lot to do. There are also many technical improvements that can be made and many requests by different stakeholders. So you need to really uncover what is really a pain point and what is really an opportunity of improvement so that you prioritize. Because otherwise you have a lot of requirements coming from everywhere to fulfill. So.
Okay, super. Thanks for breaking that down. Let's go into the technical side. I see when we recruit for data product management positions, the technical requirements are certainly not as strong as, say, an analyst or a data scientist. In fact, it's quite varying when we pick up these product management vacancies. You've mentioned that you're getting deeper into machine learning operations and analytics and insights. I wonder what's typical in your work at OLX from a technical perspective. What do you need to understand technically in your role over the data platform?
Okay, good question. Yeah. Like, I think it really depends. Like, at least in my team, there are product managers that come from a more technical background or less technical background and are, like me, learning and growing in this path of technical knowledge. But it's very important that we understand this end-to-end flow that data can have inside the company. And from this, we can really foresee the solutions that our users are trying to develop. Because data scientist or a machine learning engineer will not only use the machine learning platform for building their projects. Like, this is the end part where they deploy the model in the infrastructure. But before that, they will need to collect data, transform data, make data available, and all of that will be done with other solutions. So if you understand this whole flow of the data, even if not in much depth, it will make much easier when you talk to your users and then see where is the real problem that they are having. So maybe I can give one example of something we are trying. We are not yet sure it will work, but we don't have in OLX a feature store in the moment, for pre-calculated features and more enhanced functionalities that you have features to provide to your machine learning models. But we have a data API service that is used to expose some data sets, maybe not in real time as a feature store, but it's already in-house, pre-built. And what we are now building is kind of a flow where we are using this data API to provide some pre-calculated features to the calculation of predictions in the machine learning platform. So this is being evaluated, the use cases that it's applicable or not, because as I said, it's not real time. But by understanding this flow of gathering data and putting in a data set that will be used by this API, all of that made it simpler for me to think of this use case.
Interesting. Could you tell me, it's great that you've gone into API development there and the use of or consumption of APIs. Could you talk more about the internal services that provide data tools to some of those stakeholders, like the scientists and the ML engineers?
Okay, you mean all those tools that we have in this data flow that I have mentioned?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the first path that we have is of like gathering data, where we have some in-house built trackers. We also use Google Analytics, but Google Analytics is an expensive tool. And for this reason, we also decided to develop some internal services. And then it's also managed by us, this step of tracking data, and then making it available in the data lake. But users don't have access to the data lake. And for this reason, we have a platform called Catalog, where users can go and subscribe to have access to a specific data in a governed way. So if they need access, for instance, to some private data, they would need to go and make a subscription with a good reason for that. And all of this will be managed by one of our services, that is this catalog that I have mentioned. After that, you have other services. We have built a service on top of Airflow for scheduling your data pipelines. And then this is used by our internal users when they need to perform some transformations and publish another type of data back to our data lake. So everything is scheduled using this tool, in-house developed. And we also have services mostly related for consumption. One of them is this data API that I have mentioned to you. So it's used to expose data sets that are already pre-calculated and refreshed with some regularity, although not real time. But then they can be used even for OLX website and app. Like if you have some machine learning predictions that are not made on real time, they can be stored in a data set and exposed through this API, for instance. And this is also used by our internal users. And like I said, we have the experimentation platform to make experiments and see which functionality wins in an A/B test, depending on the metric that you define for the success of the experiment. Like you can test if a button will be yellow or green and know which one your users will like best. And this will be done with this platform and used by our internal users when they are analyzing which one was the winning. And the machine learning platform, like I have mentioned, is also one of our services. But does it make sense to you in this view of like coming from data creation until the consumption that we have?
It also charts the stakeholders that you'll meet along the way, whether they be analysts to data engineers, data scientists, ML engineers. So yeah, thanks for giving us that kind of that story, if you will, that overview. I'm wondering also, as our podcast is for the data community, as these product managers or soon to be product managers, they want to learn more and truly move into the role. Could you talk about some of the tools and skills that you develop and you'd recommend others develop, whether that be, as you've mentioned, developing A/B testing or learning more about ML ops? What tools and skills would you recommend?
Okay, so in terms of tooling, I would recommend a lot, like I use in my daily basis Miro. I really like the tool for developing like maybe some diagrams of a workflow or of a user journey in a draft way, or building some mock-ups that I need to translate to the designers and front-end engineers what I'm thinking for a UI, or for running workshops where I make dynamics with the team. So I think it's a very flexible tool for whatever need you have, and it's worth learning. I also use and learned a lot about Jira as a project and sprint management tool, so that we can like organize the teamwork and track metrics of like how much we are delivering. It's something that we are also starting to do right now. And what else? In terms of like more technical skills, I would recommend starting maybe with SQL, that I think it's more generic, to learn how to handle data in the databases and extract some insights. I think for a PM, it's important so that you can be more independent on analyzing your service or product metrics as well. And as the service I take care of is related to machine learning, for me it was also important that I have already learned how to code with Python. But I'd like, as a product manager, I'm not involved into doing things very technically, but sometimes I need to perform a demo to my users, and I need to have at least some knowledge to build the code and perform it to them. So those would be some recommendations. But I don't know, I wouldn't go too specific into one data technical skill, but maybe having this bigger overview of how data works inside an organization and what are the options that you have, because at the end it can be too specific, like machine learning operations is a world on itself. So if you start and learn this and you are not going to work directly with machine learning specifically, it might not be worth, I would say.
No. Do you think then that having a strong high-level view of these tools and technologies would be highly advantageous? Because you've mentioned Python and not needing to actually do coding, but good to understand so that you could be independent. Do you think it's, it could give you a step ahead of your competition?
Yes, I think. Yeah, I think so, in the sense that both you can do some things by yourself and be independent, and second, so that you better understand your users. You will not be as technical as they are, but you need to develop some thinking that is similar to the way they think, and understand what they are struggling with. So best than just listening them say something is that you can perform some actions just like they do, and understand from their shoes how is it.
How about data visualization tools? Obviously that's more the role of the data analyst, but would it be highly advantageous to be learning Tableau, Looker, for example?
Yeah, I haven't talked a lot about this much, but yeah, we also take care of Tableau, and we are now assessing other tools for visualization that can be used inside the company. But yeah, I think that understanding some basics of data visualization, like how to build, to tell a good story with some visualization is an important thing. I wouldn't say like be a master in Tableau, but know how to represent a specific type of data and really show the information that you want to highlight with that kind of visualization. I think this is important to develop.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing these. I got the project related tools in Miro and Jira, and as well as the product and technical tools in SQL, Python, etc. And these are pretty, as well as Tableau visualization tools. And then the more social skills like the data storytelling, these are pretty standard across most data positions, but I should expect the data product manager having the level of stakeholder interaction that you do, it's good to have such broad skills.
Yeah, because I think here I talked about more the tools and some technical skills, but I think that what will bring value to the team and make the difference for being a product manager is bringing this side of communication, of prioritization, of bringing shared understanding to the team across what are the important things and why we have decided to go to a specific direction and not the other one. And think of the product strategy, the product roadmap. This is where the PM can be most valuable, because the rest of the team will already have some technical depth, much more than you do. So it's mostly for you to better connect with them and translate things to them in a clearer way, that you should develop yourself technically. But where you add value is mostly on the other skills, I would say.
Interesting. Okay. You mentioned the product roadmap and product strategy there, and being aligned with that. In terms of the business, how are they able to define and track the success of the work that you do? Because it's so broad and touches many different areas. How does the business define and track the success of your work?
Yeah, that is a good point, that like internal data platforms, it's more challenging in the sense that we don't have clear business KPIs, maybe as other consumer-facing products might have some clearer metrics and maybe
like revenue, margins, cutting costs.
Exactly, yeah, you can directly translate into those business metrics. So for the internal services, you should definitely have and define the metrics that you want to impact. This is also something that is very important that the PM helps with, so that you have a clear vision. But it will really depend on the service and what you want to achieve. So right now we have a big goal for the data warehouse of improving performance and reducing costs. So here we have costs as a big metric, and we are defining the performance metrics that are of interest. But you might have cases where you just want to onboard many users to a new service that you are releasing, and you want to measure like the amount of users, or the amount of, in the case of the machine learning platform released last year, we were tracking closely the amount of live models that we had, the amount of predictions that were being generated in the website, calculated via the platform. So all of this increase showed that the platform was starting to be highly adopted. So those are different cases, but you might have different metrics to track as well. So let me think. We might have goal in terms of improving governance and like reducing the amount of data sets with private data being exposed to users in a non-governed way. So different metrics can be established depending on the use case for the platform.
Most of them sound quantitative and highly or easily measurable. How about more qualitative KPIs, or more qualitative ways of defining and tracking how successful your work is?
You mean the success of the product manager or the platform?
Of the product manager.
Okay, yeah. Indeed, like the role of the product manager is very diverse with many different skills. I would say that the best way to track and understand how this product manager is performing is to have like a 360 feedback session, and then maybe gather feedback with different kinds of profiles from senior stakeholders, the team, and also from some users that are in contact with this person, and try to find some patterns on the feedback that those people are sharing about the product manager. But I would say that there are many dimensions that can be assessed in this sense. So if how this person is evaluated in terms of leadership skills, in terms of bringing assumptions based on quantitative or qualitative research, not only by their mind's assumption that they say, we should build something, but why? So all of these should be justified by the product manager. Understand if the users are happy, if the team is happy to work with this person. So there are many different dimensions. And of course, the success of the product itself can also be part of this evaluation. So in OLX, we work with quarterly OKRs, and we always track this achievement of that. But you cannot track the PM only by those OKRs, because at the end, the OKRs of the service are a success of the whole team, not only of the PM. But for sure, it's also part of what makes the product manager successful.
So yeah, it is both qualitative and quantitative, especially with that 360 feedback. You're clearly very engaged, and I thank you for giving us your time to talk about this today. It's clearly something that's a vocation as well as a employment of yours. I wonder, what makes you love this product management job so much? What drives you in product management?
Okay, so I think that I'm really driven by seeing the satisfaction of my users and customers. So I think that the best moment you can have in the week is when you talk to a happy user or a happy manager of one of your users saying that your service is helping them to fulfill their needs. So I think this is very motivating for me. And I think the other thing I really appreciate is what we have talked a lot about, but this diverse set of skills and diverse day-to-day work that you have, because then you need to grow yourself both in technical aspects, in communication, and be involved in the day-to-day with user interviews or defining technical requirements or making a demo to some users, making a workshop. So you don't have a boring and everyday equal work. It's very exciting in this sense, I would say.
So some really good kind of social recognition there in your work, as well as the variety. Yeah, I like it. Respectable. Is there anything that we've missed on the topic of being a data product manager? Is there anything else that you'd like to share or you think is vital for people coming into the industry or coming into this world of work?
Not that I'm thinking. I think the most important thing is this one we have just mentioned, like the person should have a little bit of this mindset of willing to develop different skills and work in a not everyday equal routine and be flexible with those things. I think this is very important for the person to be satisfied at the end, to identify herself with this.
Fantastic. Luisa, that's all we've got time for. In fact, we've probably gone way over time. So thanks for sharing everything today. It's been really good to pick your brain and to understand what your passions are in data product management. So once again, thanks for sharing.
Thank you, and happy to have participated.
Great. And I ask if anyone's interested or have questions on the topic of data product management, fire them through to us, and I'll also link Luisa as well to the video. So yeah, much appreciated, and yeah, see you next time.